Let's see. We've got kind of a mix
Let's see.
of
I
people
am
eating keto
1 week.
on and off.
Starting November 1st.
You're going to start November
Nice.
1st with the challenge, Jessica. Awesome. Timothy, you're not eating but curious. Timothy, what have you heard about
Don't eat
keto?
Jared Leto.
What?
He put a L instead of a K.
Oh.
Jared Leto.
I don't know who that is.
Sorry, it's yep.
How to stay consistent. Okay. All right. So you guys go ahead and type in your questions. So how to stay consistent on keto?
How? Is that a question or an existential crisis?
Good. Yeah.
Because this is what people struggle with. It's how do you lose weight and keep it off? That's the question with every diet. Like, how do people find long-term success with any way of eating? I think a lot of it is, I'm just going to go with recognizing all of the wins and the positive benefits of this diet. One of the things I really like about this diet is, and I commented on a comment on our channel today, is that you're so much more in tune with your satiety and your hunger, and you don't feel like you're beholden to your hunger anymore. And so that's what makes this diet, or this way of eating, this metabolic state, so much easier to stay in, stay on, stay with, is because I finally feel like I am in control, and I eat when I want to eat. I eat to satiety, and that's it. Now, you looked at me tonight when I had some bread cheese, and you're like, she literally said to me, "Do you poop?" And I was like, every day. So
That's true.
I eat the things I want to eat, and I eat to satiety, and that's one of the things that keeps me on this diet, or keeps me eating this way, because I hate to say it's a diet, because a diet is just the things you eat every day.
We're all on a diet.
We're all on a diet.
Yes. So it is. It's a diet. It's a style of eating. So keto is a style of eating.
All right.
So I will answer that question too. How do you stay consistent? There's a couple things that made me stay consistent with keto when it's been harder on other diets. Number one is the metabolic state. Once I get my body into that metabolic state and I'm running well and I've got the mental clarity, I've got the energy, my body's able to tap into those thousands upon thousands of calories of fat stores versus just the couple thousand calories of stored glycogen and glucose circulating through the body. I'm less tempted, like real temptation. Like, it takes a lot for me to want to undo all the work I did to get my body into that metabolic state. Because I know that if I give in to temptation, that's 7 to 10 days of work for me that I have to do to get myself back to where I'm sitting today. So that prevents me from going off. Whereas with other ways of eating in the past, it's like, oh yeah, I'm going to order the French fries, and then there's dessert, and then and then it continues. It just keeps me more consistent. The second thing is my mindset. I think we're going to see future research on anxiety, depression, mental health being connected to ketones fueling the brain instead of glucose. Because I see a drastic shift in my mental clarity, my anxiety, I'm more interactive. It's very hard to put a pin on exactly what's changed, but I hear this story as we attend events like Low Carb USA, as we talk with clients, as we talk with some of you. We hear the story over and over again. Oh, well, my depression's gone, my anxiety's gone. I'm not saying keto is a cure. We cannot diagnose, treat, or cure any disease. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I think that we will eventually see the research to show that there's something special going on when ketones are fueling the brain.
Yeah.
That's allowed me to shift my mindset and not be controlled by cravings, not be controlled by hunger. In fact, a lot of times I now make the choice, whereas I used to be oh my gosh, I've been awake for an hour and a half and I haven't had breakfast. I'm going to like fall asleep because I haven't had any food yet. I can't survive till lunchtime. I mean, I used to be like a required breakfast person within like an hour of waking, or I'd be shaky and I just wouldn't be fun to be around. Now I'm like, forget it. I'm just not going to eat till lunchtime. Natural intermittent fasting.
All right, so I think we have a limited lifespan of these comments, so I don't want to lose this one. So Katie Tucker asks, talking about the season change, a lot of people are getting sick. You gotta read
the whole thing.
I have a sore throat. What's a good immune buster, I'm going to say buster, to take that has little or no sugar? Now, before you answer this...
I was just sick.
I'm going to guess in my head what your answer is, and then I'm going to let you answer, and then I'm going to give myself a high five if I got it right. What is a good immune buster for...
Booster. Immune booster.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense than buster.
Yeah. So...
With little or no sugar.
Okay, so there's a number of different things. So I really like, so I was just sick. So I'll tell you that. I was just sick. I completely lost my voice last Wednesday. It's still not completely back. It's pretty close. But the throat coat tea by Traditional Medicinals, I believe. It's called Throat Coat. That is great. It's sweetened with stevia. That really helps. Also, look into colloidal silver. A little bit harder to find.
Nailed it.
I was traveling when I got sick, when I got the sore throat. I ordered it from Fresh Time. Like, I had an Instacart because I was, like, running a fever. I had an Instacart delivery from Fresh Time. Whole Foods carries it. I keep some on hand. I order it, I keep some on hand. If you're a Young Living member and you have the Thieves cough drops or the Thieves lozenges, both of those work great and don't have sugar in them. I can't remember what isomalt, not the perfect thing. If you're sick, it works great. If you're a Young Living member, the Thieves spray, you can spray it right into the back of your mouth.
Yeah, and so, just full disclosure, we are with Young Living.
We're not telling you to sign up under us, etc.
You could
we use these products.
Use some other companies as well.
Ricola, Ricola.
Yeah.
They have a sugar-free cough and throat drops. You might be able to get those at just like a CVS or a Walgreens. That's what I got when I got sick and we were in Mexico. Remember that?
Yeah.
Or right before we left for Mexico, maybe it was in the States. But I had some of those left over, and so I alternated those two drops. So those are all some great things. Because, yeah, my old way of dealing with it was like tea with honey. So there's some suggestions. And I hope you feel better soon. Being sick is no fun.
All right, so I see two here, one that's kind of a question and one that is a question. So I'm going to start with the one that is a question because it's probably top of mind. Is keto healthy? And the tag is I have high cholesterol. So first, I would say ask you, what do you know about your cholesterol? Do you just have a basic blood panel? So your LDL, HDL, and triglycerides? Or have you done an advanced lipid panel? Do you know what your particle size spectrum is? So knowing some of that stuff can inform your answer. I would encourage you, Jimmy Moore, who's in the keto community, low carb community, wrote a great book. It is a really good audiobook called Cholesterol Clarity, What the HDL is Wrong with You.
Jimmy Moore?
Jimmy Moore. Really does a good job of explaining all about cholesterol and maybe why we've got it wrong. So I actually have LDL levels that are above 200. And I've had this discussion with my doctor, and he knows, like, not only have I had that discussion, but I've done other advanced testing, right? I have done advanced testing for inflammation markers in the body. So I know what my homocysteine levels are. So I know that while I might have higher cholesterol, I have darn near zero inflammation, chronic inflammation in my body, right? So
lean in.
I'm going to answer your question very succinctly here, I don't think that it is a problem for cholesterol. Please talk to your doctor. Is keto a healthy diet? Yes, I believe it is.
Yes. Then another book is Fat and Cholesterol Don't Cause Heart Attacks. You can find that on Amazon. I'm looking at the book behind us. Yeah. It's a bunch of published studies. So that's one. I guess I would just really encourage you to take ownership of your health and of your cholesterol numbers and be willing to invest in some advanced testing that insurance won't cover. You can usually find it for $100, $150 to invest in this advanced lipid panel. Generally, insurance will not cover it.
Now, if you have a history of high cholesterol and you go in and tell your doctor, hey, I'd really like to understand this more, can I get an advanced lipid panel? They could probably find a way to get it covered.
Sometimes it's worth asking.
It is definitely worth asking.
But be willing to invest in that. Be willing to spend time reading books. Cholesterol Clarity, which we put up on the screen. That book is great to just really start to understand what's going on with your body, what the science says, what the science doesn't say. So that's where I would start and then move into this more advanced book. Okay, scroll down.
All right, so we're going to go back here.
Can you adjust volume or no?
It's all the way up.
Okay.
It should be fine. The devil was...
So Connie, you said, I heard some call sugar poison. The thing I'm calling it is the devil working on me. That's good. Yes, Tracy, you ask about... thanks for your message on Instagram. You asked me about keto if you only eat animal foods. That's like his favorite style of keto. So, Jeremy, what do you eat? Pretty much all animal foods.
Well, no.
Occasional. Well,
I eat a lot of Brussels sprouts and stuff,
yes,
but I find myself eating most, dairy and eggs and meats and cheeses and all that kind of stuff. So
yes, that's his favorite kind of keto. So do you use? Is it more of a carnivore style? So animal food only was a little bit more of a carnivore style, but you could incorporate some. So you could use butter, ghee, lard for cooking.
Yeah.
Things like eggs or your meat, etc.
Let's see. Sue Campbell asks, how much fruit can you eat on keto?
So, Sue, in the beginning of keto, you don't want to eat very much. Once you get somewhere between 2 to 4 weeks in, you can start playing with it. We're going to talk, during the challenge, we're going to talk about testing for ketosis. And are you in the challenge? If you're not, I would encourage you to join, because we're going to be talking about how do you test and how do you tell what does and doesn't push you out of ketosis. I'm going to be sharing some of the strategies and things you can do there.
How's our volume right now?
Has our volume improved? All right. We have more questions? You got to scroll. All right, so if you guys can help us out, because we're getting lots of comments, if you can help us out when you ask a question, if you can put a couple question marks at the beginning and the end of your question so we can very quickly hone in on what is a question. Something about breaking a sweet tooth. I think it was Tracy. You keep going by it. Okay, so Doug, you said something about you're struggling with breaking your sweet tooth. Jeremy, why don't you talk about that?
Well, I mean, that's just because, sugar has been shown to create as much of a dependency in the body as cocaine has, or more, so absolutely that is a very common thing. And it's kind of a very personal thing too, because a lot of that type of eating for sugar and things like that is emotionally connected to something.
So when we eat sugar, what happens in the brain?
Well, a lot of things. You're driving at something, so go ahead and...
The response to sugar in the brain, it stimulates the reward pathway in our brain, but it's short term, so we want more and more of that. The cell phones do the same thing. When we're constantly checking our cell phone, right? And we notice pretty quickly if we've misplaced it because we're not constantly checking it. It stimulates the reward pathway in the brain. So it does become addictive, not just physically to the body, but also mentally, because we start to associate eating sugar with feeling good. So if you're anything like me, I mean, I grew up and so great grades. Okay, we're going to go get ice cream. We celebrate with sugar, and so we start to tie sugar mentally and emotionally to feeling good in so many different ways. But there's also a physical effect on the body and the brain where, the dopamine, the serotonin is being released
right
temporarily, but then there's the crash, which stimulates wanting another high. So, yeah, you've got to be disciplined. You have to be willing to make some sacrifices. It doesn't matter which way of eating, which diet you follow. Healthy diets are lower in sugar.
Yeah. I can't dispute that. No, I won't.
So some tools that we use as we transition away from a diet high in sugar is, okay, we're going to find some healthy sugar substitutes. And the quickest way, if you go to my website, wholebodyliving.com, we can post the link for you. But there's a sugar substitute guide. If you go to the webpage, wholebodyliving.com, there's a drop-down keto resources, and you'll find a sugar substitute guide there. And I talk about some of the sugar substitutes that we like and use, and then some that you should avoid.
All right. So Robin Williams says, I've been eating keto for 1 week and have lost very little weight. I've been very strict with no cheating and have done 2 days of intermittent fasting. I'm a little discouraged. What are your thoughts? So keto for 1 week and lost very little weight. So I won't say that that's typical, because typically a lot of people do tend to lose quite a bit of weight in the first week. But what we tend to see is people are actually losing a lot of water weight, because going into ketosis really kind of drives water and salt out of your body, right? So you lose water, you become kind of less puffy, and yeah, the pounds come off the scale pretty quick in that first week. 5-10 pounds is not unheard of. So I would ask, kind of where were you at, and how much have you lost? But not just that, and I talked about this when we kicked off the challenge, but what else are you measuring besides what's on that scale? How do you feel? Are you noticing any changes in your body composition? Do your pants fit better? Does your shirt fit better? Those types of things, and find ways to have wins in other areas of your life that aren't just related to the scale, until the numbers start to roll in. And I think they will for you. You do have to stick with this for a little while to get the full benefits of it. So if you're only a week in, I would say go another 5 weeks. You can do it. I know you can. You've done a week already. You can do another 5 weeks, give it a shot, and then see what the numbers are then. But until then, find something else you can measure that is moving, because I guarantee you something is changing in you.
So we've got some questions about intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting, and we actually had a question on the channel about intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is something, so it's basically, just to describe what it is in case you don't know what it is, intermittent fasting is, we like to call it time restricted eating. So it's super easy. So what time is it now?
7 p.m.
So it's 7 o'clock right now. So we've had lunch, we're done eating for the day. So we started fasting around 6 o'clock tonight. So to do a 12-hour fast, we wouldn't eat until 6 a.m. tomorrow. Simple, right? Well, sometimes that concept, that stopping eating at a certain time at night can prevent us from grazing in the evening, which so many of us, I mean, us included, I mean, that was a problem because we would just not be satisfied, right, on a high-carb diet. So that's intermittent fasting. Someone asked, what's the longest we have intermittent fast we have done? I have done 23 hours.
Yeah, and that actually gets to be kind of easy once you have been in ketosis for a while. At the end of last year, I did a 7.5-day fast. This year, over my annual training, I did a 17.5-day fast. So these things would have seemed otherworldly to me in my 20s. Like, how would I ever do something like that? Never would have conceived that this person, with all of his Mountain Dew consumption and all that kind of crap, would be able to handle anything like that, let alone a simple 16-8, intermittent fast. Now, it's pretty rare that I have breakfast. It's pretty rare that I eat before noon every single day. And usually, I'm hopefully I'm home by 5, and Tara and I will eat between 5 and 6 sometime, and then that's it. So if you're trying to figure out like what that looks like for you, you need to do some backwards planning. What time do you go to bed? You need to go to bed at a consistent time every day. You really do. It's not just like woo-woo stuff. You need to go to bed at a consistent time every day. Then back that up 2 or 3 hours. Okay, we go to bed at typically 8:30. That's kind of our set time. So back that up 2 to 3 hours, puts us right at 6 o'clock. We stop eating. And then that's it. That's really it. Like, the rest of it is, how many hours do you want your window to be? And so we say, we do 18:6. So between the hours of noon and 6, we're good to go.
So I've seen some more questions come in, or some more comments about not losing weight in the first 10 days on keto. And I just want to encourage you to keep going. Join us on the challenge. We've been posting the link for the challenge so you can join. So join us there. We're going to be talking about some things. And there are things that I did early on that I think prevented some of the weight loss that I could have seen. So you could just be making some simple mistakes. You could have your macros wrong. It could just be that your body is going to take a little bit longer to reach that state of ketosis, to really start to see the weight loss. And that can happen if you're diabetic, if you have metabolic disorders, if you have MS, Parkinson's, if you have anything that's your body is struggling with, if you have a compromised immune system, if you have really high inflammation, arthritis. I mean, I can go on, but sometimes there's reasons the body is just holding on to weight. And so I would just trust the process. Join us in the challenge. Just go through that. I'm going to be breaking down like day 1. I recorded day 1 yesterday for you guys. Like I said, I lost my voice, so I'm a little bit behind where I'd like to be. But day 1 is recorded, and my video editor got it back to me, and it's 30 minutes. And I'm kind of feeling bad because it's so long, but I cover so much information. How to figure out how much fat you need to eat, protein, carbohydrates, how do you adjust that? So we really do a deep dive in day 1. So I really think that'll be beneficial to you. You can also go out here on our channel, and I have an older video that I did on things like that. So you can go through and watch my playlist for how to get started with the keto diet. The thing with keto is that you really have to look at yourself as an experiment, a science experiment. And you have to be willing to change things up and adapt as you go. Yep. Because you are going to hit plateaus. You're going to be doing great, and then you're going to hit a plateau. And then you're going to have to shift something. So, for example, this month, I've lost, 8 pounds in October? What did I do? I stopped drinking alcohol. These are just things I knew I needed to do. I stopped drinking alcohol, and I stopped creating a whole bunch of recipes for Christmas. We were deep into the goodies, treats, and stuff. And so that means, like, I test our sugar cookies. How many batches did we do?
11?
11 batches of sugar cookies to improve on a sugar cookie recipe that I made last year, and to make them rollable sugar cookies. So I got rid of those extra sweets, the extra calories I was having in. And then I was sick for 10 days and maintained that weight loss, and now have lost another pound. And yeah, that was it. Little tweaks, big results.
All right. If you saw me look over there real quick, it's because we have some very hungry kitties, and they're at the door.
They want their carbs.
But I don't think you can hear them right now, so they'll probably start mewing here in a second. But I'm going to keep... There's a lot of questions rolling in.
And yes, if you want to lose weight quickly, then you get rid of alcohol. Alcohol will prevent weight loss.
How much fat? How easy is it to come off of keto? 1 sugar or 1 serving of potatoes. All right, so some of this has to do with just you in general. How you respond to carbs. How insulin sensitive are you? And some of that is due to genetics, and some of that is due to long-term health effects. But the longer you are in ketosis, we feel like the harder it is to knock you out of ketosis, and or the easier it is to get back in it. So we did a whole talk about this last year because Thanksgiving is a super tough time of year for some people.
Was that our, is that a live video we did?
Yes. Yeah, okay. It's on the channel. So we have a
it has
whole talk about
in the subject.
How to handle Thanksgiving on the keto diet. And that year or last year, what I ended up doing was I went off. I went to my parents' house and I ate all of the things that I enjoyed during my childhood that my mom, now that she's retired, has really started to get back into cooking. And that is her love language, is showing up for us and making this food. And you know what? I was able to enjoy it for a meal. And I immediately went and fasted for the next 48 hours and felt great about the time I spent at Thanksgiving and doing something unique like fasting after a Thanksgiving meal. So going back to your question, it varies. You know, some people will get knocked out of ketosis if they eat an apple. Some people won't get knocked out of ketosis if they binge on a box of Little Debbie's or something like that. So it depends on how active you are and, you know, your biology and your genetics. But, you know, typically if you're a newbie, you know, it won't take a whole lot. But if the longer you're in, the more adapted you will become to the keto lifestyle, and it'll take more to knock you out. And a lot of people do raise their carb intake after they've been in ketosis for a long time. Holy crap, that was a long answer. And I got into some touchy-feely stuff.
Okay, so we had a question. Jeremy just scrolled right back. But what can we have while we're fasting? So intermittent fasting. So if you Google this, it's going to be lots of different answers. So really anything that you ingest will stop the detoxification process, correct? Other than coffee?
Yeah, there's just a lot of varying opinions on this topic. So some people say that a strict water fast is it, right? Some people say that under 50 calories won't knock you out of fasting. And by fasting, they mean like your body has taken on and started very specific processes like autophagy or can't think of the other word right now.
Autophagy is detoxification.
Right. So it kind of depends. I fall in the camp where I think that black coffee is fine for intermittent fasting.
Well, they've actually, there's a study somewhere, I should find this, but they've actually found that black coffee can increase the production of ketones.
That's exciting.
I know I read that in the Ketogenic Bible, which is Dr. Ryan Lowry's book. He's a PhD. That's a good one. I know I just read it in there. but I've seen it other places as well. If someone knows that study, I mean, drop it in the comments.
Does stress still make it harder to lose weight even if you're doing keto without any cheats?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. So what can you do? What can you do about that? Meditation, yoga, walking outside.
Yep.
Getting grounded. Oh my gosh, you guys, we recorded a podcast episode today. Our podcast releases December 1st. Oh my gosh, so much good stuff. Anyhow, might have something to do with what we're talking about. Getting grounded, so just going outside and touching the earth. Hands, feet. As we were talking about this, I was like picturing doing yoga in the grass. Of course, it's 46 degrees outside, so I didn't go do that. Okay. So stress, yes, it does. It also makes it harder to sleep, get good quality sleep. So do easy things like meditation, breathing exercises.
Yeah.
There's a lot of free apps out there where you can even do like a guided meditation to fall asleep.
There's also like timing during the day, right? So Tracy's question about cortisol, you've got to remember that, around 4:00 in the morning, cortisol levels start to rise and the body starts making adrenaline and things like this. That's what gets you up in the morning. Like that's the signal to your body. Let's wake up, right? So other things that drive cortisol besides stress are intense workouts, drive up cortisol. So if you're working out in the night, you're driving up cortisol at a time when it maybe shouldn't be that high.
Yeah.
So maybe think about, if you can, switching your workout to the morning when cortisol levels are already high. You're just extending that a little bit. So that could be a way to work around or work with cortisol levels.
So keto drinks. So watch our keto grocery store tour. We talk about a number of those there, don't we?
Yeah.
I didn't go too deep in the weeds. So this is kind of the transition. So what are the drinks that you're missing? Like, what do you feel like you're missing out on? So comment and let us know, and we can kind of come up with some alternatives for you guys. So I'll start in while we're waiting for your comments to come in, because you mentioned a drink called bubbly. So bubbly it's just a flavored sparkling water, which is fine. You just want to always check the ingredients list and make sure that there's not any added sweeteners in there. And I'll back up on that in just a minute. So LaCroix, Perrier, you have to be careful with them because there's also sugar versions of these too. A lot of store brands have it, things like that. If you want a soda alternative, we personally avoid all diet sodas because they contain sucralose or aspartame, and we both just have made the decision not to put those things in our body. That is a personal choice that you can make. So Zevia is one that we sampled it last week when we taught our monthly class here. We have a local grocery store we work with. Hy-Vee, you've seen it on the video when we do the grocery store tour. We sampled it and I thought it was way too sweet. Now, 3 years ago, I wouldn't have thought it was way too sweet. So Zevia is a good kind of transition. And then you can actually mix it with some sparkling water and then move into sparkling water. But what's interesting with keto is that your taste buds, I really liked it. A guy who comes to a lot of our classes, Nick, if you're on, hey, Nick. But he said it's like your sweet taste buds reset themselves when you're eating keto. So he said all of a sudden fruit tasted like candy.
Right. Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened with us. So it was really fun to hear him share that with the people there in the class. All right. So if you guys have any other drinks, so water, tea, coffee, sweeteners, you can sweeten different teas. You can get different flavored teas. We like the Zinger teas. We like to have our kids drink the Zinger teas. It's good for hydration, and there's all different flavors of the Zinger teas, and you can pretty much find those anywhere. But then there's other fruit teas. Other brands have fruit teas. Just be careful for added sugars in those. Read your ingredients.
So I've seen Barbara ask this question. I think she's trying to get up there. A good question just popped in. Can I eat keto vegetables as much as I want, or are they also limited? How much is too much vegetables?
Great question.
So again, keto vegetables is, a class of vegetable, not like a class of vegetables,
Let's call low carb vegetables.
low carb vegetables. So non-starchy vegetables. There's a lot of vegetables out there that we will just eat as much as we want of. Like, we pretty much eat as much Brussels sprouts as we want and never have a problem with getting knocked out of ketosis.
But we wouldn't recommend someone brand new, and we don't do it when if we've gone off and we come back on, right? Like,
I don't know. You answer the way you want to answer.
It's tricky though, because everyone's different. And that's what we always have to come back around. And we're going to be talking about that in the challenge. So how do you figure out what works for yourself? If you're treating yourself as an experiment, how do you tell what works? Because he can have a lot more carbs than I can.
You need to test.
Yeah.
You have to test.
You have to test.
If that is a concern.
If you want to know with absolute certainty, you have to test.
Right.
But is that the goal? Is having a specific level of ketones the goal? Or is the goal a weight, a specific state of health, a specific way your clothes fit, feeling in your body?
If you're doing keto to treat epilepsy, that is one thing. There is a very, very specific protocol that you have to follow for that type of therapeutic level of ketosis.
Yes.
You're not going to get a lot of vegetables on an epilepsy keto diet. If you're eating...
Because you're looking at like 10 total carbs.
Right,
most
or
likely.
less.
Total. Not net.
If you're eating dirty keto because you want to lose some weight, you heard that you got better mental clarity, you've always felt like you didn't want to, consume as much sugar as you have, then you're probably okay eating vegetables and probably going to be okay eating quite a few vegetables. I would, agree with Tara. Start slow and ramp it up and see what happens with your results. Yeah,
because one thing that can happen if you have been eating keto and not eating a lot of vegetables, like if that's been happening, is let's say you add like we love riced cauliflower. Well, if I haven't been eating vegetables and all of a sudden I add all this, I'm going to have a GI response.
Oh, yeah. Bathroom adventures.
Yeah. So my body's going to go, whoa there, what you doing? This is new. So just keep that in mind. When we very first started experimenting with our Brussels sprouts, the fried Brussels sprouts recipe we have on the channel, like that would happen because our body's like, what's going on?
All right, so two very similar questions. One from Tracy, what calories should we have each day? And then from Nicole Scott, is there such a thing as too little calories? And so you just had this discussion with somebody that you're working with, and you actually recommended to this person to raise their calories
a lot.
Yeah, to bring the calories up.
Yeah.
So, we just kind of got done talking about intermittent fasting, where you are timed eating, where a lot of people do find that they eat a lot fewer calories when they're doing intermittent fasting, just because the keto way of eating is very satiating. It can be really hard. How many calories are in an egg? Something like 60 calories. But if I told you to go out and eat 20 eggs, which would be 1,200 calories, you would laugh in my face because that's
so many
too
eggs.
Much food, right? But it's not that many calories, but it is so nutrient dense.
And if you compare that next to a box of sugary cereal, right? Or potato chips
but
or
it
something.
would be nothing for a lot of people to go out and eat half a dozen donuts, and that might be upwards of 24 or 3,000 calories, right? So a lot of it is understanding how satiated you are and what your caloric needs are based on how active you are, what maybe special health conditions you might have where it might make sense to have more, or, something you're doing based on specific goals. I would say that long term, there are definitely drawbacks to underfeeding yourself, just like there are drawbacks to overfeeding yourself. But it's kind of hard for me to talk about that since I've done two, fairly long fasts. Like, I think I counted it up already this year. I've completely fasted, not intermittent fasting, but completely fasted for over 30 days this year total. So that's, 1/12 of my calories from the year are gone because I just didn't eat. And that doesn't mean that I went out the rest of the year and ate all of those additional calories. So that's a really, again, that so much of this is, we're trying to help you understand the keto diet and the ins and outs, but so much of it is related to you personally. And you have to be willing to do a little bit of experimenting on yourself. But I would say, yes, there is such a thing as too little systemically. And yes, there's obviously something wrong with too much.
So what I like to do is vary the calories. So if you're trying to lose weight aggressively on keto, I really don't recommend cutting calories aggressively your first 10 to 14 days. I would try to get people to eat maybe 100 calorie deficit, just right in that range. And the reason is the body's learning how to process all this fat. The body is transitioning. And if you really try to cut, you're going to feel the keto flu so much more. So let your body switch over and then start reducing your calories. In the long term, you're going to get better results that way because you're going to be more compliant over time. Because if it's so painful, you're less likely to quit. Sorry, my voice is not being a friend. So this kind of getting in this also is, there's a question here. Is it important to eat all the time? I go hours without wanting anything. Good. So you should. We were taught by various methods of eating that we should be eating every 2 to 3 hours, and that is wrong.
I'm just going to, boom, mic drop.
It's wrong.
I was on the bodybuilding.com forums in my, 20s a lot, and the, you hear about these guys who are trying to pack on muscle, and they would go to this extreme of getting up every 2 or 3 hours in the middle of the night, ruining their sleep just so that they could eat. No, your body has these built-in feedback loops for a reason. Hunger and satiety are feedback loops in your body, just like thirst is a feedback loop in your body. I've never been one that subscribes to, like, you have to drink a certain amount of water each day. I think you should drink until your thirst is quenched, and that's probably enough. Now, I am more thirsty on the keto diet because I excrete more water, part of the diet. But like you said, I don't get as hungry as I used to. I am way more in control of my hunger, and I eat when I'm hungry. That happens to really kind of coincide with the planning that we've done around our day. We're going to go to bed at 8:30. I've kind of cued and trained my body that, like, hey, it's going to be, let's be hungry around 5 or 5:30 and then eat up until 6. And then I've trained my body not to be hungry until around, starting to get hungry around 11 o'clock in the morning. And eating around 12 or 12:30. But if it slips until 1 or 1:30 or even 2, it's not that big of a deal. So, yeah.
All right. So no, you shouldn't be having to eat all the time. That's just wrong. That took a while to break that cycle. And what I actually realized is that when I started keto, before I ate keto, I guess I'd say I ate clean. right? I think probably most of you are familiar with like the clean eating or that type of a style of eating. Well, I had been trained and trained my body to eat every 2 to 3 hours, 2 to 4 hours, somewhere in there. And so when I thought I was hungry, I actually wasn't hungry. It was just based on external cues.
Yeah.
Time of day. The kids leaving for school. Oh shoot, I haven't had breakfast yet. It was all cue based and just my mind thinking, oh, this is when I should be eating, just because I'd trained myself that way. And so what I did was when I thought that the first step is just pausing. You just kind of have to go, okay, wait a minute, what's going on here? And getting curious about what's going on. And so what I did was I would go and get either a cup of hot tea. I like to drink hot beverages in the morning, a cup of hot tea, or just a glass of water, whatever I had time for, drank that, moved on with my day, and it'd be 3 or 4 hours later, and I'd be like, oh, I guess I wasn't hungry. It was just my mind saying, oh, this is the time you're supposed to eat, because our mind is very routine driven. So I just encourage you just to get curious about those early morning cues, especially. Because if we can extend that window that your body's going through those detoxification processes, that makes you healthier from the inside out.
Yeah, they've done studies on just, intermittent fasting in general outside of the keto diet, and they've shown like you can continue to eat the same food that you've always eaten, the same diet you've always eaten. If the one thing you changed was to do an intermittent diet or an intermittent fasting, but still had Big Macs all day, you would still be healthier because you're giving your body time to rest and digest. And it's pretty powerful, just intermittent fasting by itself. Keto makes it super easy because I feel like you're so much more in control of your hunger. So, what else?
And you're more in control of your hunger because your body has access to even a very thin person has over 10,000 available calories from fat stored in their body. So and on our normal diet, we really only have about 2,000 available for immediate use. So we can tap into those fat stores anytime we want to.
So Sue Campbell wants to know, how do you know if you've been kicked out of ketosis?
Testing.
Testing. So it's going
and
to...
weight gain.
Yeah, well, and so in the immediate term, you're probably thinking like, oh, I had 3 glasses of wine with dinner last night. I probably kicked out of ketosis. You're probably not going to know immediately. There is a lag to that, right? So it's something that takes a while to show up in how you feel. Well, maybe not with 3 glasses of wine or whatever. You might feel drunk. But, if you...
And faster on keto.
You might just feel like, you wake up in the morning, you kind of feel like crap. That's a good way to tell, or it could be something else. But literally, it takes a couple days to know when you've been kicked out of ketosis.
Sometimes I can tell the next morning. So you have to get used to how your body feels in ketosis before you know what it feels like out of ketosis. So really the only way to know for sure is testing, and to be able to tell what's the difference between the two is through testing. Salt in your water. I think that's really disgusting. We use Highlight, HI-LYTE. We use their electrolytes. I used to do salt in my water. If I'm traveling and I'm feeling weird and off and I know that I need electrolytes, I carry a little tiny salt thing with me in my purse. And Redmond sea salt. They had little tiny ones at Low Carb USA that they gave us. And I fill it and carry it with me. And I just put some salt under my tongue. And people look at me really funny, and I'm just like, whatever. And then I just drink some water. Yeah. Salt in my water, I can't. It gives me a stomach ache. I think it's the whole taste process.
All right, I'm going to go off on salt here.
All right, go.
So I did this fast, and I'm a dummy because I was, I'm in the guard, and I did this fast, and I only really had access to the food that they were bringing out to us. Big mistake, because I needed salt. Now, I had brought salt pills, but because of what I was doing and the level of activity we were...
It was hot.
It was hot.
It was so hot.
It was...
And it was humid.
Real hot. Yeah.
Humid.
So I needed a lot more salt than I was getting. So I was looking for salt in all kinds of places. One of the places I could find salt was in the MRE meals. So the meals ready to eat. They're like 2,000, 3,000 calories.
Did the salt packets have sugar in them?
I took the first salt packet and I, did the thing in the mouth. At that point, I just didn't care. I was just going to have some salt. And I was like, this salt is sweet. Why is this salt sweet? And so you wouldn't think you'd have to look on the back of a package that says iodized salt on the front, but I did. And I looked at it and it said salt, comma, dextrose. I was like, what the heck are they putting dextrose into salt for? Because I could taste the sweetness. Luckily, the silverware packet that they bring that has a napkin in it for the hot meal that we would get during the day also had a salt packet in it, and it was just salt. Like, it just said salt. So...
And it didn't taste sweet?
No, it didn't taste sweet. Like this, I was just blown away that I could even taste the sweetness in this. I was pouring what I thought was pure salt on my tongue. So it's kind of crazy. Sorry to go off on that, but like, you really have to look at the things you're eating and look at ingredient labels, because they will put dextrose and maltose and isomalto-oligosaccharides and inulin and, all kinds of crap into products that you think are safe.
Including those little packets you see you're at the diner and there's individual packets. The labeling, the FDA labeling, will allow the sugar-free packets of whatever it is to have 5% real sugar.
5% real sugar.
There's like a calorie. I can't remember what the calorie goal is, but if you look at the FDA labeling requirements, it's in the language. It's not a secret.
It's just like trans fat labeling on any package, right? If it's under a half a gram, they can claim 0 grams.
Terrifying.
Right? But if there's 4
everywhere.
servings of that...
Sugar's everywhere, even in sugar-free.
You could have, if you pick up a package of something that says how many servings are in the back, 4. Okay, there's 4 servings in this. I'm going to eat all of it. But there's 0 grams trans fat.
Could be
if
2.
it was, it could be up to 2 grams of trans fat, which we all know that trans fats are extremely bad for us. But on the package, it looks like 0. So there is some crazy lying to our faces on a lot of this nutrition labeling. It sucks.
All right, last call for comments. So I want to remind you guys, we are going to be kicking off the 7-day challenge on November 1st. I'm going to be traveling. So I'm going to be going live on Instagram, and I'm going to be talking about how the heck do you do keto when you travel. I'll be talking about my tips, tricks. I won't always be able to go live when I'm eating because I'll be with a group of people, but I'll be doing like screenshots or pictures of my menu and when I'm going to order, pictures of my food. I'll be putting that in Instagram stories. I played around with YouTube stories. You guys like YouTube stories? Like I think I got one comment on a YouTube story. I don't know if you guys actually see them. So I don't know if I should use YouTube stories or just stick to Instagram, which also pushes to my Facebook stories. So you'll see them on both. I just don't know. So let me know what you guys think. But I'm going to be traveling the November 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. So Jeremy will be live next Sunday night.
All right. So just to put a bug in your ear or something about this, people tend to think that traveling is the hard thing. We actually did a class here locally, and the guy was like, I'm thinking about going on the keto diet, and I travel for work a lot because he's a salesman. And we're like, no, I think traveling makes keto easier because it puts additional guardrails around what you have access to, right? You can
and it
pick
shakes
your
up
restaurant.
your whole schedule.
Right.
Like
So
your whole life gets shaken up. Go ahead.
what I think is harder is being the person who has to stay home and suddenly becomes a geographical bachelor, and still staying on your diet, because this woman, like we talk about this a lot. It is way easier to do this if you're married, if you're both doing it. It is way easier to do this if you're in a relationship, if you're both doing it. It is way easier to do this when you have support. That's why we're doing the 7-day keto challenge with you, is because of the support. But she's going on vacation. I'm staying home. Well,
I'm going to a conference.
Workation. It's going to be harder for me. Trust me.
All right, so join the challenge at wholebodyliving.com/challenge. And make sure you're following me on Instagram and Facebook. And if you're not already in our free support group, you can also join our free keto support group. There's a link already to that down in the description below the video, or there should be. And also a link to join the challenge. So thank you so much for joining us tonight. Jeremy will be back next week at 6:30 Central Standard Time. Keep in mind the time changes next week.
Yep, time changes next week.
But he'll be here. I will be traveling. If any possible way I can hop on remotely, I will. But that's about dinner time in Phoenix, so I'm not sure. Conference runs till 5. So, any last words? What are you going to talk about next week?
I don't know. What do you guys want to see? I've been thinking about doing, like, I'm not big on, like, let me take my crap and take it into a public place and be that person who's live streaming from a public place, but I'll do that if you want me to. I mean, I'll do it for you. Like, I'll take you to the gym with me in the morning at 5:30 and you can see what we do. I mean, I'll ask the other cool adults what they think, but something like that, or could just kick it with the guys and just talk about what's it mean to be married to a crazy lady who has all these ambitious dreams and all this stuff, or I could just sit here and we could paint happy little trees. Something like that. But I just want to say, so now I'm just going to say thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Tracy. Thank you, Cindy. Thank you, DM. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you guys
Sue.
all
Thank you, Nicole,
for being here tonight. It was a great time. He will see you next week, and I will see you in 2 weeks. But I'll be on Instagram. We'll be doing the challenge, so join. See you later.
Thanks. Bye.
Good night.